Welcome back to BbWorld Live, or welcome to those of you that are just joining us for today. We've seen a lot of great activity in the chat room today, so please keep your comments and questions coming. That's really what's driving a lot of the Q&A sessions that we have here, and we'll try to keep on taking as many as possible as we get to. Our next presenters are Kate Senn and David Dixon with a session titled How to Make Your Online Content More Interactive Without Reinventing the Wheel. And I'll tell you a little bit about them before they get on stage. Kate Senn has more than 20 years of experience teaching computer and information technologies with KCTCS and currently is a project lead for the EPIC grant at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. David Dixon is a lifelong resident of Cumberland, Kentucky, and he's been with Southeast Kentucky Community and Technical College in the roles of EPIC project team leader for a little over the 2 years. He holds many certificates related to education and leadership, and he's been elected to the Cumberland City Council for 4 terms. So, Kate and David coming up.
Hello and welcome to our presentation, How to Make Online Content More Interactive Without Reinventing the Wheel. We believe that after our presentation, you will be able to take what we're showing you and wow your students with new ideas. So now let me introduce myself and my co-presenter. As Vivek said, I am David C. Dixon, and I'm the EPIC Project Team Leader at Southeast Kentucky Community and Technical College. My colleague, Kate Senn, is a professor, and she also serves as an EPIC Project Team Leader at West Kentucky Community and Technical College.
Thank you. Little technical difficulty here. Let's see. The time of the sage on the stage is over when it comes to teaching and learning. Students want interaction, and faculty just crave feedback. It's important to have those touch points throughout the lessons, and students want to be active learners. They don't want to just sit and listen. We need to switch online learning from read and repeat to understand and expand. Among the challenges that we face when making the switch from read and repeat to understand and expand is the idea that maybe I'm going to have to start all of my work from scratch. I had one faculty member that had 20 years worth of PowerPoints, strong lectures, and the idea of having to start over again was incredibly scary to her. So it's important that as we introduce the idea of more interactive, more active activities, that we seize upon these wonderful collections of existing lectures and existing materials and use that as a starting point. In today's presentation, we're going to quickly demonstrate one such strategy. We're going to take PowerPoint presentations and bring them into articulate storylines, switching what was a linear presentation into an interactive activity. Excuse me. Okay. The path that we're going to take, and as I said, we're going to be moving quickly. After our presentation, you won't know exactly how to do an articulate storyline from beginning to end. That, I think, would be a 2 or 3 hour workshop to grasp each one of these things, but we hope to kind of whet your appetite. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with a sample PowerPoint presentation, one that, to be honest with you, I don't think either one of us would have used because it has very little color, very little animation. Not a whole lot. And then we're going to import these slides. And we're going to show you that you can select some or all of the slides. We'll show you what that first story, straight out of PowerPoint, is going to look like. Then we'll go in and show, okay, straight out of PowerPoint is good, but there are simple things that you can do better using simple WYSIWYG interfaces that you're probably already familiar with. I'm going to talk about changing a linear presentation into something that is interactive, where students can branch out on their own. One of the added features is the ability to add quizzes, not just at the end, but embedded within the activity itself, such that you can go through a couple of topics and then do a quick self-test. These tests can also be graded activities, such that we can have a results page, or you can go straight into a learning management system. One of the things that I have thoroughly enjoyed about this particular product, is the ability to use it in so many different ways. So we'll show you how you can publish it such that it can be used as a standalone web, on a CD, or even a Word version. And then at the very end, I'm going to show you kind of the beginning to the end, what I was able to do within 20 minutes using a starting PowerPoint into articulate storyline. So David's going to go ahead and get us started.
So as we're moving along, we're going to start with just a sample PowerPoint project, as Kate mentioned, that probably most people would not use in their classrooms because it's very blah. So here we go. Let's take a look at this simple video of a PowerPoint from a history class that you may have at your College of U.S. History. As you can see as the video is playing, it is just a presentation of words with very few graphics. Have you ever wished you could make this more interactive and less boring for your students? Well, let's show you how. With just a few simple clicks, you can import and select the PowerPoint slides that you wish to include in your new Articulate Interactive Storyline project. So let's take a look at that. So this simple video is going to show you how simple it is to insert a PowerPoint into Articulate or import that PowerPoint. So first you open the product, you click File, select your PowerPoint from the folder, open it, and then you're going to be faced with a menu that is going to allow you to select the slides that you wish to import into your Articulate Storyline project. Maybe you don't need a title slide, or maybe you just want certain slides. This allows you to do that. So as it's importing, it's gathering all of your data and things to bring into the project. And as you see, now you have something that looks similar to a PowerPoint presentation that you can now edit. So moving along, we're going to take a look at the resulting story. The resulting story is not very pretty. So as we move along, we're going to show you how to make it prettier. You can look at a preview to see what it's going to look like to your students if they were to just click on this story. As you can see, you now have a video type interface which allows you to navigate through the slides. You can select the slides you want to navigate to, but you have a lot of untitled slides and different things. With Articulate Storyline, you can name those slides now, which will allow students to have a reference point. So now Miss Kate is going to show you how to clean up this PowerPoint in Articulate.
Okay. As David pointed out, it made a wonderful interactive piece, but it's a little on the ugly side, and it had a couple of rather basic things that, as a designer, it always bothers me. When that first slide has a previous, and that last slide says next. So I'm going to show you just a couple of quick things that you can do in order to clean it up. And I paused my video here for a moment so I could show you the interface before I start clicking along. As you take a look at this, it's probably familiar to a lot of you. As you take a look, it looks a lot like the kind of interface that you would see in a lot of Adobe products and Microsoft products. So if we could go ahead and start the video, you'll see that within Player, we have the ability to go in and, using a menu, go in and add a title. Since this particular Articulate Storyline doesn't have any audio to it, I don't want the volume. Nothing drives me more crazy than thinking I'm not hearing it. I can go in, I can change colors. I can add particular themes. As I pull down these color palettes, it looks an awfully lot like the Microsoft tools. I also have the ability to go in and set the properties of these individual slides. I can get rid of that previous button on the first slide. And this one was basically done in real time, all of the clicks that I did. in real time, and you'll be able to see some of the quick differences that we were able to do. Okay. Most PowerPoint presentations are rather linear. You go from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3. That's wonderful, but it's not particularly good for doing interactions. So using the material that is already in this PowerPoint presentation, we're going to make it more interactive. Not going to type a thing. We're going to do this using a series of triggers. A trigger is just simply something that you are doing to activate something else. In our cases, it's going to be either clicking on something or moving our mouse over it. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to create a pop-up based upon when a student clicks on something. Also going to take some existing text and add a layer. A layer is just simply, as the name implies, additional information that is laid on top of an existing slide. Then we're going to touch a little bit on hotspots, which is another way of adding some interaction to what used to be a rather dull image. Okay. So to add a trigger, it's simply a case of selecting some text. In this case, the 1857. And instead of going from slide to slide, I'm going to allow students to click on that particular piece of text and get their information. It allows students to set their own path of learning. So by clicking on 1857, students are able to click on that particular item and not necessarily have to follow the path that I wanted them to follow. Another way of adding this interaction is a layer. And as I explained before, a layer is just additional information that appears on top. So in this case, instead of having an entire new slide open up, I've selected some text such that when the mouse is over that particular text, information is going to appear. Much more of what we think of in terms of being a pop-up. So as we navigate to this new screen, you'll see that when I get close to 1860, the information associated with that date will pop up. This will allow students to do a certain amount of clicking around. In our final version that you'll see that within those pop-ups, you also have the option of clicking for additional information. Hotspots. Hotspots allow you to identify particular portions of an image and allow different items to happen. It can be a pop-up, it can be one of those light boxes. One of the warnings I would give in terms of hotspots is they are highly dependent upon the mouse. So you want to keep accessibility issues in mind when creating a hotspot. Let's go ahead and start the video associated with this particular hotspot, and you'll see that California has been identified as a hotspot. I was able to freestyle and identify that area. And when I'm in the activity itself, you'll see that the cursor changes depending upon its location. Because most of the map is not a hotspot and not a link, but when I click on California, it brings up the light box. Okay. So this is ways of adding some interaction within what was traditionally the lecture portion of it. Now David's going to go ahead and talk about quizzes.
Thank you, Kate. So one of the great features of Articulate Storyline is the ability to be able to add quizzes. And within these quizzes, you can also create custom feedback which could be very beneficial to students as they prepare for exams. So now we're going to move along and take a look at a video on how to insert quizzes into the presentation. It's just like creating new slides in PowerPoint, so you're not really learning anything new, you're just given more capabilities. As you can see now, you can choose different types of quiz questions such as true or false, multiple choice, multiple responses, fill in the blank, and so forth. Choose your quiz question, and it's as simple as clicking Insert. This is going to bring up what's called the form view. This view allows you to type your question. Maybe you want to copy and paste your question from publisher resources that have already been created, or maybe you've created word tests. Select your correct answer, and then you're able to come down and modify the feedback to give custom feedback to your students. Now, you don't have to create custom feedback. You can leave the feedbacks that's there, but by adding custom feedback, it allows more opportunities for your students to make this more of an interactive project for them to use to study for a test. The slide view allows you to change the font or make things bold and so forth. So now we're going to preview what this is going to look like for your students. So we're going to navigate directly to the quiz, the first question, the Lincoln-Douglas debate. We chose an answer, we've submitted it, we've seen it was incorrect, but we get the correct information, which is going to help your students prepare for their exams in your class. So now we're going to move along to the next video. This video shows you some examples of the various types of questions you can create within Articulate Storyline, such as a short answer question. There's some more custom feedback that students can use. Also, you can do multiple choice. Again, they've got the answer correct, so they get some refreshing feedback there. Select multiple responses to a question. This could also be used for a survey or something of that nature. Or match events to the year. Or maybe you want to have a drop down and put things in order 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this with this type of question. As you see, it's just as simple as navigating and clicking. Can't do that with a normal PowerPoint. So we select and get feedback. Then we also have the option to drag and drop things in order. This can be used in a science class. And then you get results. Well, we made a 40%, 20 points. But on this results page, we're able to print these results. Now, the results, you enter your name, and students can download these results for many different reasons. Maybe you want them to turn it in as a grade for their class. Maybe you want them to use it to study. So now we're going to move along. Quiz results page with print. After students complete the quiz, they can print this report. So let's take a look at a sample. So this is a sample of Kate's quiz. And we see that she has information on the correct answers as well as the incorrect answers that she can use to help her study for the exam. Or maybe you're using this as a classroom assignment. You can print this as a PDF, print it out and turn it in at the end of class. A student can very easily upload the PDF in Blackboard to an assignment you've created. Or the good thing with Articulate Storyline is you can publish this, which Kate's going to talk about a little later, and have it linked directly to your Blackboard gradebook. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Kate.
Okay. And as David pointed out, you can publish it in many different ways. Articulate Storyline allows you to create websites such that they would be in HTML5, allows you to create packages that can be plugged into learning management systems. Also, gives you the ability to do some offline options, including CDs and Word. One of the interesting things about Word is that it actually puts your presentation, including the different layers and the different pop-ups, into a Word document. At first glance, that is wonderful, until you realize that it has taken your text and turned it into images. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Just like as we were changing the interface, we're able to go in using menus. Menus that are fairly intuitive to be able to say, okay, I want to have this available for the web. I want this to be able to be plugged into my learning management system. I want to have it in Word. It's possible to publish the same story multiple ways and use it in multiple ways. So what we're publishing right now is just the kind of quick and dirty version that we used in the demonstration. And to a certain extent, it's been within real time. The ability to go in, click, and rearrange items. You have the option of going in and previewing the project as it has been published. Also gives you the option to zip it such that it will be easier to send. So I want to clearly mark for demonstration purposes only, just in case I have the wrong dates on some historical event. Okay. Okay. As I have mentioned before, wanted to show you in kind of a concise method how we could go from the very simple PowerPoint presentation that David showed at the beginning to a fully encased lesson. Okay. Okay. So we started with a plain title slide. We now have taken a single image of a timeline, and we've used it two different ways. We've added the layers, we've added the pop-up, and you'll notice that on two of my pop-ups, I have the ability of clicking on that same date to get even more information. We see my hotspot. That ability to jump up, pop up that information. The integrated quiz. As we mentioned before, these quiz questions can be added throughout the lesson. So I could have had that question about Dred Scott right after the lecture portion associated with Dred Scott. Okay. When it comes to the correct and incorrect feedback, what we've shown here is the very basics. But those incorrect and correct are actually layers where you can have more information. On one of my more recent projects, we went ahead and added images to that incorrect feedback. So admittedly, I have been working with Articulate Storyline for quite a while, but I promise it went from dull, sorry David, dull to this in 20 minutes. So David's going to kind of wrap up our presentation.
So, in order to use Articulate Storyline, it's just a few simple steps to get those things into Blackboard. First, obviously, you have to create an Articulate Storyline project. You can publish it in one of the many different file formats that Kate has talked about. Then you can upload it to your Blackboard content collection and then create a link in your course, or maybe you have it on a website, you can put that link into your course. Add your item to your Blackboard course wherever you may want that item added. And then, of course, you don't forget that final step of making it available to your students. Just a few simple steps to get this into Blackboard, and just several steps to take a PowerPoint and make it more interactive for your students. So, obviously, we've went through this really fast. We've given you our contact information there. If you would like to contact us for a live demo using Collaborate, Skype, one of those types of platforms. And we've also included a QR code that you will be able to scan, and it will take you to a web page that has many of the different projects we've created using Articulate Storyline throughout the KCTCS system and the EPIC program. For myself and Miss Kate Senn, I would like to thank you for tuning in to our project, or our presentation project today, and I think now we're going to have some question and answer sessions with Mr. Vivek.
Thank you very much, guys. So we have actually a lot of questions.
Okay. Oh, excellent.
So a few, and obviously they're all very pointed and specific on Articulate Storyline. So how do students access it? Is it something that a student gets individually? Is it on the faculty end? How do they purchase and license that?
Articulate Storyline is actually something that we have faculty to build the individual materials. Articulate Storyline may be plugged into individual classes, but it's not usually something that we have students build projects.
Okay. And is there an interaction with Blackboard in there? How do you leverage that and embedding that in the course?
With Articulate Storyline, as I mentioned, it's just a few simple clicks to upload it into Blackboard, much what you would do with uploading a Word document, a PDF, a file, any type of file. But you can also publish that directly to the learning management systems so that you can link it into your Blackboard gradebook with just a few clicks.
And since mobility is a big theme here as well, how does that content from Articulate Storyline appear on a mobile device?
One of the great things with Articulate Storyline is it does give you the option to publish a mobile version of the projects.
Well, that was perfect then there. Now going back to, Kate, you talked about accessibility, obviously throughout the session. This is a broad question,
yes.
So I'll let you take it any way you want here. What are you doing about accessibility for students that have disabilities?
Okay. One of the interesting things, as we have started using Articulate Storyline, is we've begun to identify additional ways of addressing not just auditory and visual, but also tactile or the ability for mouse. So among the things that you can do is you can adjust tab orders. You can, I talked about the hotspot. The way I have gotten around hotspots to a certain extent is I have a shape exactly the same size that is in the tab order. Yeah. Also, on times when you do have audio and video included, didn't show it on there, but you have the option of adding notes. And in the notes section, you can have your full script such that a student, much like we're talking about how even students that are not hearing impaired like to see it, they can read along with it. As you publish it to Word, those notes are also added to that Word document. So it's a wonderful way of kind of touching in different ways.
That's great. And you hit upon something that actually I've been hearing more and more about. It's not just about for an alternate format or an alternate text for students with disabilities.
Yes.
It's about leveraging, understanding that people have different modes of learning, and everyone learns differently.
There are some people that would much rather tab through something than to have to do the mouse.
Exactly.
So
we're right at the wire, so that actually was timed perfectly. So thank you again for presenting at BbWorld Live, and we're going to take a few minute break, and we'll be back with a very special segment and a live view from the BbWorld show floor.